Hello everyone and welcome to this new lesson of the app marketing course. In this lesson, we will talk about build an MVP, minimum viable product. Probably you already know what this means MVP, but I want to give you a definition that is specific for apps. An MVP for an app is an app that solves a single problem in the best possible way. There is a lot of confusion around MVP because sometimes we refer to an MVP for a SaaS, software as a service, or a physical product, or like in our case, for an app. And there are little differences between these kind of products. So in our case, it's an app that solves a single problem in the best possible way. When we think about building an MVP, we need to think only about the essentials. We don't need to add a lot of features in the first version of our application, but we need to make it work. What I mean? This is a list of mistakes that we need to avoid when we build an MVP. The first one is reinventing the wheel. We need to avoid these mistakes because in the first phase of our development, we need to proceed fast. And for example, we need to avoid custom components, or for example, we need to avoid to develop code when we can simply use a library. So we need to find the most simple way to achieve your goals for your application without spend so much time. Other point is spend so much time on the UI. We don't need, how I said, we don't need to create custom components or create cool animation in the first version. We don't need to spend 1 week or 1 month building an icon. We need to proceed fast for the first version. Third point, not giving yourself deadlines. This is a very common error because we start with a new project and we are really passionate about what we are doing, but at the same time, without deadlines, we risk to spend a lot of times on a project that at the end will not bring us money. So this is a high risk. The other point is release something full of bugs. We need to avoid this for sure because an MVP is different from a beta. We need to create something that is completely functional and can be useful for the users. The other point is not thinking about the user experience. Before release our MVP, we need to make our app in the hands of how many users as possible and receive their feedback. In this way, we can understand if our app is clear for them and if we didn't make some mistakes in the UI and the user experience. And the last one is one of the most common error, that is add useless features. When we build something, we need to think to solve one single problem, and we need to put our focus on this simple problem without thinking about anything else. So in the first phase, it's not important to add a lot of features. We need to add one single feature that fixes one problem. To simplify, in one single phrase, we have to release something good. Now I want to explain you why it's so important to set deadlines for an MVP, because creating an MVP is not free. I want to explain you this concept in a very simple way. If your pay is $20 for hours, is only an example, and you work on a project for 8 hours a day for 7 days, the project has already cost you $1,000 after one single week. After 2 weeks, $2,000, and after 1 month, $4,000, more than $4,000. So we need to think about money from the day one. Otherwise, if you work on an MVP, for example, for 1 entire month, we are losing money. For this reason, give yourself a deadline when you build an MVP is extremely important. And for me, the right amount of time to build an MVP is at maximum of 2 weeks. But what is the purpose of an MVP? In my opinion, we have 3 goals with the first version of our app. receive feedback to improve the product, learning through analysis tool, and monetizing and experiment with prices. These are our three main goals. To do this, we can implement, for example, in our app a form to send us some feedback or suggestions, or we can implement an analytics tools like Firebase Analytics inside the app, or we can experiment with prices with services like Revenue Cut, for example. And our main goal is answer to these questions. Do users use my apps? Retention rate. I mean, if we build something and we spend money to bring users to our application, and after one day they stop to use it, this is a very red flag for us. We need to create apps that have a very high retention rate. Retention rate is simply the amount of users that return to our application after 1 day, after 7 days, after 1 month, and so on. More is high your retention rate, more users are willing to pay for your application. The second question is, do users buy my app? This is very important, because if we create something but the user don't buy it because they don't find the value of our product, this is also another red flag. We need to understand in this case what we are doing wrong to fix it and increase the conversion rate. And the third question is, do users want my app to improve? This means basically that the user participate in the development of the app, giving you feedback and asking you questions about how to use better the app and something like this. There is nothing worse to be ignored from your users. If your users not participate in the development of the app, this is a red flag. Probably your application is not so useful for them. So the most important thing when you build an MVP is try to answer to this question. And if you find some problems, you can iterate with other versions, build, correct your mistakes, and improve the retention rate, the conversion rate, and so on. You need to understand how your users use your app using your data. For example, the data that you can extract from Google Analytics. And to sum up, in this video we saw that an MVP is simply an app that solves a single problem in the best possible way. 2, you have to release something good. It is very important. We don't want apps that are full of bugs. We don't want apps that doesn't solve real problems. So we need to release something good. 3, 2 weeks is the maximum time you can give yourself to release something, because when we start to build the project, we are already losing money. 4, the main purpose of an MVP is to extract data to understand how the user use our application and how we can improve our application, our conversion rate, and so on. For example, when we think about pricing, we can play around with the price of our app. For example, we can set a higher price for 1 week, and the next week we can decrease the price and see how the user reacts to these changes. The point number 5 is ask yourself the right question. In the previous slide, we saw which are the questions that we need to answer when we build an MVP. We need to understand if the user are really using our application, if they are willing to pay for our product, and if the user really want to improve our app with us. So if we have these 3 questions in mind, we need to use the data that we can extract from our application to answer to these questions. So for this lesson about how to build an MVP, it's all. Thank you very much for watching this video, and we will see you to the next one. Bye.